Welcome, everybody. I'm Alex, CEO and founder of MarsBased, and in this episode, I'm announcing a new series of episodes for the English version of the Life on Mars podcast. That's right. We started the Road to CTO, the successful Road to CTO series of episodes, both in the English and Spanish version of the Life on Mars podcast before the summer, and they have driven very good metrics into the podcast. They've been pretty successful, and we're loving it so far. And so we are thinking of doing something new. As you might have seen already, we have been recording more and more episodes in person, which doesn't in and of itself mean that the remote podcast will go away. On the contrary, we will maintain the same kind of format that we had before, purely because some people we can't interview in person in Barcelona. Think of the CEO of Ghost when we had him a few months back, or whenever we will have DHH from Basecamp, or when we had the CTO and CIO of Zynga back in the day, right? So these kind of people, I don't think they will be coming to Barcelona in the near term. So that's why we will keep doing some remote interviews. But whenever possible, we are recording the episodes in person because we have found a very nice location, a very nice setup, a podcast studio in the center of Barcelona. We are loving the vibe, we're loving the people. And you have seen with the podcast of David Poblador, ex-Spotify, that we had this setup, this background, this environment that you will get to see in many, many more episodes. Sometimes we will record from the offices of the people we are interviewing, right? Well, as it was the case of Jordi Miró or the founders of the Hotels Network. That works too because they're super generous and their offices are cool. So why can't we take up on this offer, right? So we will be keeping the remote interviews for some of the episodes. We are still keeping the Road to CTO in both Spanish and English, but only and exclusively for the English feed of MarsBased podcast Life on Mars, we'll be launching a new series that it still doesn't have a name, but what we'll be covering here is how to build an agency, right? We draw inspiration from the podcast Building Infinite Red, which is, as a matter of fact, one company I admired and we've been close to them in recent years when we've met them in person in the US. And obviously, that's one of the companies that we draw inspiration from. Like we drew inspiration from Thoughtbot back in the day, Pivotal Labs, Mobile Jazz here in Barcelona, our friends at Codegram. So other companies that we draw inspiration from. But I know there are tons of people out there that they want to draw inspiration from us, or they have already been doing that. We work with micro agencies, we work with freelancers that they look up to us. And when they work with us or we meet regularly with them, they say, oh, we copied this from your style. We did this because you also did it. Or, we have seen your handbook, which is, by the way, publicly available on GitHub. And we have implemented these rituals that you do and stuff like that. So that fills us with a lot of pride. And I'm really happy that this happens. And as a matter of fact, I have like 2 or 3 conversations every week with entrepreneurs and freelancers and agency owners that they want to learn more from us. It's maybe it's a new venture from somebody who's more experienced than us, but hasn't caught up with the changes in the industry, and he's been doing products for many, many years. Now he wants to go back to services, or somebody who's reinventing the company or pivoting, or somebody is launching kind of like a venture studio or a company builder and stuff like that. I think that the kind of advice that we'll be sharing here will be equally interesting for small agencies, big agencies, solo agencies like freelancers or micro agencies, 2 to 3 people only, generalist agencies, boutique and specialized agencies, marketing agencies, video agencies, development agencies eventually. So I think that I'll try to make the content as general as possible. So, but with very specific details on how we did this, with good stories, anecdotes, and maybe bringing in also some other people from the company or some guests that will help to explain this. Oh, remember when this happened, this project, so we bring in this person. We will be launching these episodes in the middle of the other episodes. So it's not like we're stopping everything else and now we'll have only 10 episodes like this, because I think it wouldn't be relevant to our community. On the contrary, I think that as the questions come in, and we have a few lined up already, we'll be recording the episodes, right? What will I be covering in these episodes? Things that happen in the daily life of an agency, right? Like from the very beginning, which is choosing the logo, choosing the name, choosing the services you want to offer, going for your first client, drafting your first contracts, making your first hire, to something more intermediate, like surviving a crisis or firing a person or changing your value proposition, or how to bootstrap on the long term, how to like add new portfolios to the website, or new services you might want to offer, to more like advanced level content, like after 10 years, how to manage the motivation and performance of the people with the longest tenures in the company, how to survive, like the perfect, maybe not the perfect, but like a very good mental health scheme as a founder, right? Our personal crisis and stuff like that, or how to survive the losing your biggest client, or how to talk your way out of uncomfortable situations like acquisition talks or approaches by your biggest customer, right? And stuff like that, or whether you have to depart from the company, or to part ways with one of your co-founders and stuff like that, which hasn't happened, will not happen, hopefully. But I think that we've got plenty of experience in previous companies and friends companies that we are able to explain this. So, all in all, if you want to send some questions, send them through our social media profiles, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or our email, hola@marsbased.com, or through my personal accounts. I'm fairly accessible through the previous the previous social networks I mentioned, and send questions that can be in just textile or video. We'll be recording some episodes that will have a question or two. Some episodes that will be like a compendium of Q&A, basically. And some episodes will be like, I'm going only to speak about contracts today, or NDAs, or writing the portfolio for your website, or remote work, or asynchronous work, and stuff like that. So stay tuned. If you want to hear more, the next episode will already be one of this. Make sure you like and subscribe to this channel, and because we're very close to meeting some of the metrics that YouTube gives us to promote us farther. We, as a matter of fact, we surpassed the 500 subscribers, which is something very, very good, and it makes us very proud. And until that happens, I'll see you in the next episode.